Can I present from here?
Yeah. Try this part, works better.
So we good. Thank you very much for the introduction. Can everybody hear me all right? I think you can. So my name is Przemek Sienkiewicz, as Dragos said. And despite the fact that I don't have shorts and flip-flops today, I really work for Google. I would like to tell you a little bit of the history of why Google is where it is, why we are here, and why we, as Google, try to figure out the way how to make your business life simpler and where it comes from. We will have a very simple agenda. As everything at Google, we try to make everything very, very simple. And the first point on the agenda is the modern workplace and the trends that you can see on the markets, which have actually caused Google to think how we can use our technology and help you, do your business in a much easier way than usual. First, I would like to show you several numbers. Those numbers you most likely know, but when you put them on one screen, they give you a certain context that makes it easier for everyone to understand why things are happening. 1 billion daily searches on google.com. This is how many times every single day people are trying to look for something on google.com. And it's not about that Google is so great in this particular case, but what it shows how many people are looking for something and using the internet every single day. So that shows the certain trend. 101 million displays of the royal wedding within 12 hours after it was posted on YouTube. People are really using internet to access the information. 40% of Romanian population is using internet right now. And Romania is a very specific country in our region because you have the biggest broadband penetration out of all the countries. I come from Poland. I covered the entire region, so I traveled through the region and I can see the differences, and especially differences in the broadband penetration. So you are in a very privileged position right now, and I think that's entirely related to the market deregulation that happened a few years ago. This is the amount of GDP that internet will be producing for Romania in a few years. Those numbers are starting to be quite big if you transfer them into the monetary values. This is the value of Facebook. It's a little bit lower now, but it doesn't matter. I mean, imagine a company that was created in 2004, after 6 years is worth $100 billion. I mean, that's just crazy. It wouldn't be possible without the internet or anything like this. There is no precedent like that in the history. This is, on average, how many percent of the things that we buy online? 6%. And it also grows very, very fast. By the end of 2015, this should be a little bit above 10 already. Those are the two numbers that I really like a lot. The first one is number of people in the world, right? Growing population. And the other one is number of mobile subscriptions. So, and believe me when I say that this number grows much faster than this number. Okay, so we will have a situation that soon enough we will have more mobile subscription in the world than people. That gives you a certain perspective on where we go as human beings, because this is not caused by any company trying to force people to use mobile phones. We just do it because it's easy. We like it. It makes our lives easier and convenient. This is 2014, so in more or less 2 years, mobile devices will become primary internet access devices. So we will less use desktop computers and laptops. We will more use smartphones and tablets to access the internet and the information that are there. It's just the trend that is happening, and that gives you also a certain perspective. So those are just the few numbers. What happens with with those numbers and with the technology that you know, different companies trying to bring to the market, trying to make it easier for everyone to communicate and collaborate in the new ways that were not accessible before. It creates a certain new animal on the market, on the business market. And companies that are actually utilizing that opportunity, and they use the advantage that it can give them. So through that kind of approach, you can create teams that are within the company that are assigned to do certain tasks that are consisting out of the resources coming from inside of the company and outside of the company. It's very easy to communicate. And what that creates, it blows a fresh air into the thinking process, and it always delivers more creativity. The decisions can be made at a much lower level, which means that they are made faster, which at the end causes the company to be more reactive to whatever happens outside, in the outside world, and be more competitive. And I guess we all want to be there. Few trends that we see as the trends that define the way we behave as business in the world. You will all agree with me that speed is very important in everybody's business, right? The speed helps you generate new revenue. It helps you be very competitive, react to whatever happens in the outside world. The company from Boston, Lockheed Motors, this is a company that designs and builds cars in a series. Small series, but it's still a serious producer. Normally, the process of designing and then building the car and putting in the production line takes around 5 years. This is just the standard time frame in this industry. They do it in 18 months. And they do it because they created a very, very open communication and collaboration platform for every single person that is involved in that process. They have people that are spread all over the world contributing to the design and development of those cars. And this is the reason why they can do it so fast. So they can afford to make a lot of different cars in a small series because it's just fast. It's if you would compare it to the, for example, telecommunications world. It's imagine the world where the operator changes the tariffs every 2 weeks because people don't like it and they want something else. So this is how agile you can be through adopting that kind of openness in communication and collaboration. Another trend that's very strong, as you saw from the number slides, is the mobility and mobile working in general. We just love it. We love it because it's very simple. We always have mobile phones with us, smartphones. We always have tablets with us, and more so. There is more devices, more mobile devices sold in the world than computers already. Someone predicted that it's going to happen in 2012, and it happened in Q4 2010. So again, this is happening because it's just simpler. It's easier for us to do it. And look at this. 4 billion phones in the world, and 1 billion sold last year. It's just amazing. I mean, people are crazy about mobile. And not taking this into account as a business could be really, really dangerous. And innovation. There is a study that was done by Future Foundation last year in US, but it was the study that they did all over the world, and they wanted to understand what do you need to be innovative. And they figured out that there is 81% correlation between ability to communicate and collaborate and ability to be innovative, right? So if you cannot communicate in a very fast, effective way, then it stops your ability to be innovative. And Walmart is a great example of that thinking, because Walmart, you would normally think that it's not a very innovative company because it's just a retail chain the biggest in the world, but still retail, those are grocery shops. So how innovative this can be. But at the same time, they really do solve important problems of the operations of the company by being very creative and innovative. They have those groups that consist out of different level of people from the company that are given a problem and are asked to solve it somehow, right? And one of those groups were asked to solve the problem or try to solve the problem of power consumption within the company. Is there anything we can do to lower the power consumption? And there was one guy from the shop, and he said, okay, we have these social rooms in the shops where we can go and rest, have lunch or something during the work. And there are vending machines that deliver drinks to the employees. And they have lots of bulbs, right? The Coca-Cola sign is lit up. Why don't we just remove all those bulbs? We don't really need to see the Coca-Cola sign being lit up. And they did that. And they saved £700,000 per year because they removed those bulbs. So that's innovation right there. It doesn't have to be very complicated. Sometimes it's just very, very simple. And you will see later on that those little simple things that we deliver as Google in our applications are actually very innovative and can make your life much simpler. So there's another company, pretty well known, which is called Gartner. And they do a lot of analysis on the markets and on what happens. And they predict future pretty much very well. And they run a study that showed that certain aspects of the way we do business today, the way we work, the way we set up our businesses and companies, are limiting our ability to adapt to the new possibilities that market is giving us every day. And I'll explain why. The same company did a study all over the world about how, what is the structure of the IT budget within the company. And it so happens that between 70 and 80% of the budget goes to keeping the lights on, just maintaining the existing infrastructure. Think about this, $7, $8 out of 10 goes to keeping the lights on. It doesn't contribute in any way to the innovation. It doesn't bring anything new to the company. It's just being burned down to keep the lights on. The other thing is that workers and people that go to work, they're usually very tied to the device to do their work. Okay, they have to have that device to do something, right? Information workers, and that means that they have to go to work physically, be there, right? Or they have to take the device home or somewhere else to work with. That creates a lot of risks. For example, security risks, because as it turns out, 60% of mission-critical data of every single company, on average, is located on those laptops, and no one backs it up. We all have policies to back up our things, and some people do it, but they don't do it too often, pretty much maybe every month. But most people don't do it at all. What happens if you lose it? If you lose that laptop? How many of you lost the laptop? I don't know, but I lost it twice, and it's really painful. In New York, every single year, there is 60,000 laptops and smartphones left in the taxis. This is a big problem. So, and another thing, in terms of complexity, for the last 20 years, we have been building IT around the business process. Okay, that was a process. We were given a task. Okay, you have to do this. And we built the IT around the process. And what was the end user? End user was not important because the process was important, right? And the result of this is that we have really not user-friendly interfaces that are lowering the productivity of people, and in many cases, people just hate them. I'm going to have to open this application again and do things that I don't like to do, right? Because it's so complicated. I mean, we all have that, this way or another. So those are the elements that of today's business that are limiting our ability to look for the new opportunities, because we just so drown in it, and we're trying to change that. So all those things that that you've seen, those numbers and those trends, they made Google think how to try to solve it, help, and we understood that in order to do it, we have to think and do things in a completely different way, a new, different way. We cannot do things and think in the same way as we thought before using new tools, because it's not going to bring any innovation. And it's not a separated thinking. There was one guy that actually thought the same. And he figured out that the world we have created today as a result of our thinking thus far has problems which cannot be solved by thinking the way we thought when we created them. Think about this. I like to use in this place. I like to use the example of the economy crisis. Right? We really have to be very, very creative and think in a completely different way right now than we used to think to solve what we have right now in terms of the crisis. And it applies also to the IT world and the way we do things in the IT world. So the concept of 100% web, what is it? This is the concept where you have all the applications and the content available to you through the web browser. You don't need anything else but this. All the applications and the data are being stored on the network of the data centers that is being developed from the ground up to be very secure, reliable, and scalable. The devices like laptops, smartphones, or tablets are being used as the portals. The devices to access the information that's stored in the web. You don't have to worry about things like the upgrades, because to use the new functionality of the web application that you're using, the only thing you need to do is refresh the browser, because it happens in the cloud. So you don't worry about this. You don't have to maintain anything. You don't have to upgrade, update, and maintain servers, because it's being done for you in the cloud. So companies can really concentrate on being productive and being competitive, instead of figuring out how I'm going to patch my Exchange 2010. I think to understand why the concept of cloud computing by Google is different than any other concept that's out there, you have to know that we think that it's not enough to add additional functionality on top of existing infrastructure that you have. Because then the only thing you do, you create more complexity and more cost. You have to remove complexity and cost first before you put new technology in. And this is the fundamental concept, making things easier, but also going few steps back before you start making things easier. And this is what we really believe in. So this is Google's cloud computing strategy in a nutshell. It's very simple. It only has 8 boxes, right? But what's critical here is that at the foundation of all this strategy is the user. All our engineers, all the people that are involved in product development, they have user in their minds to start with and to end with. Always they think about the user first, not the business process. We really think that the business process can be bent to actually help the user and make the life easier for him. And I'll give you just few examples of how we do it and what are the components of the strategy. You will hear a lot of things right today about Google Apps later on. So it's a beautiful set of applications. But I think one of the very, very critical things that you need to understand is the constant innovation that comes with it. In the old world, we were using certain application. and then we had to wait 3, sometimes 4 years for the new version of that application to come out. And then we were really spending a lot of time studying what's in the new version. In many cases, we were making a decision that we don't want to do it because there's not enough benefits for us to actually upgrade, or it's too expensive. So we wait. We wait another version, and then it turns out that because we lost the previous version, and now the new version forced us to change the entire hardware that we have, right? So all those problems of the old world. With Google Apps, it's different because it's a web animal. It lives on the web, in the cloud. So the innovation is being delivered all the time, constantly. Just last year, we had over 120 new features added to Google Apps. And there is no previous version or the new version. There is only current version that exists today. You open up your Google Apps account tomorrow, it may be different because new features are being added. So, and you make a decision whether you want to use those features or not. So this is constant innovation. This is something that allows you to be creative and helps you do things easier and easier day by day. App Engine. This is the way, because not only Google Apps is the set of applications, but it's also a platform on top of which you can develop your own things. And Google App Engine is a development environment that makes development of new functionalities much easier and much faster than in the old world. You can, or the system integration partner that you are using can develop certain functionality on top of Google Apps for you to fulfill other needs of the company. Apps Marketplace is another element of that strategy. Apps Marketplace is a web store with applications that are sitting on top of Google Apps, developed by using Google App Engine. And this thing completely redefines the way IT buys, tests software. Because with a few clicks, you can select throughout over 200,000 applications and figure out whether this one is good for you or not. And then with another few clicks, you can just buy it and start using it. Everything is integrated with Google Apps from the scratch. All of those applications that are in this Apps Marketplace are non-Google applications. So those are external applications made available to you. And it really is very, very simple. Please work. Okay. Android, you know probably what it is. I don't know if you know, but Android is the fastest growing mobile platform in the world. Almost very close to 50% of all the smartphones and tablets that are being sold right now are equipped with Android system. And why is that? It is because from the very scratch, it was developed for being very, very open and to allow people to be very creative and innovative. If you look at smartphone from HTC and you compare it with smartphone from Samsung or from Motorola, those are completely different devices, and the user interface is different, and the philosophy that's being used there is also different. But underlying technology is all Android. But we allow people to add on top of it because Google doesn't have a patent for being the smartest. We actually believe that people out there are much smarter than we are. That's why we try to give them tools to actually be creative. And I'll give you one great example of that in a second. Chrome OS is the operating system that we developed, which, if you really think about it, is just a web browser. There's nothing else. And if you think about it from the web browser perspective and what the web browser needs to operate and run, it really doesn't need that much, which makes possible for the hardware that you use it on to be very cheap and to be very fast and to do a lot of more things than normally the standard hardware is capable of doing. And if you think about innovation and creativity in terms of the hardware, we have all those beautiful smartphones, and we have the tablets, And those things that they revolutionized the way we do business and the way we, you know, not even business, but just our private life. Things are much easier now. But if you think about this from the desktop or laptop perspective, there's no innovation. I mean, the only thing that changes is the amount of RAM that you have in the computer and the speed of the processor. So they get faster, but they still have all the same problems. I mean, you know, how many times lately your system hung up and you had to reboot the computer? Or how many times per day some application that you have installed or even the operating system asks you to be upgraded or updated because there is a security threat somewhere. Speaking of that, you know, what is the time that the security patch is being launched from the security patch being launched by the producer and actually installing that security patch on all the computers in the company? It's different, but sometimes it's 2 weeks, sometimes it's 3 months or 6 months. And you still have to do it. There has to be a process, again, to fulfill that task. So it creates a lot of problems. People are worried that the devices are getting older and you have to replace them and you have to constantly invest and invest and invest. And it's a lot of money. If you think about this, someone actually calculated, Gartner calculated how much it costs to have a desktop in the company. They did a study all over the world, and they had different results from country to country, obviously, but the range is between $3,000 and $5,800 per year. They calculated everything, including power, including people that need to maintain this hardware, including patches, updates, everything that you need to do with the computer, and the amount of time that people spent applying all those patches and things like this. So it's really not innovative. There's nothing new. I mean, operating systems are getting a little bit better, but they still have the same issues as they had 5-10 years ago. And Google also was thinking what to do with this. And based on the Chrome OS, they created a device that's called Chromebook. This presentation is actually being presented from one. And Chromebook is the 100% web device. Doesn't have a hard disk. Everything that you see here is not on this device, it's in the cloud. Okay? So if I lose it today, someone steals it for me or I leave it here, there's no problem because there's nothing on it. There's no security threat. And it costs $400. And you can do things that you would normally not be able to do with a standard laptop. It boots in 4 seconds. And it revives itself from sleep instantaneously. There's no patches, no upgrades that you need to apply. The only thing you need to do is refresh the browser, and everything pretty much is done automatically. And if you use it in your corporate world, all the Chromebooks in the company can be managed through the web browser. Imagine the IT manager. He doesn't have to be at his desk. He can be on the beach somewhere and still managing the Chromebooks, right? And the Google Apps accounts. So great opportunity for IT, I think. In terms of costs, there are 2 versions actually. One is 20, the other one is 25 euro per month. And everything's included. I mean, Google takes care about the entire maintenance. If the hardware breaks, you'll get a new one. If the agreement that you made with Google for maintaining this for, let's say, a year or 2 years is going to pass, you have a new agreement with the new devices and new versions of devices. So you don't have to worry really about how to upgrade, when to upgrade, what to do with this. There's one downside of Chromebooks. It's not available in this market yet. But I'm trying to fight very, very hard to get it here, and we'll get it. But the problem is that there's so much interest for those devices in the world that Samsung and Acer, which are our partners in terms of producing those devices, they just don't have enough processing power to actually create enough devices. But we'll fix that. So a few examples to finish with. Telegraph Media Group. This is our customer from UK. And they introduced Google Apps, and they did their own analysis of what it actually changed after 1 year, what it changed in the way they do business. And they had many, many different results, but one of those results, productivity gain, was impressive. They increased productivity 2.8 times. This almost means that they have like 3 times more people in the company. So people don't spend time on doing unnecessary things. Virgin, you know the company and the airline business of Virgin implemented Google Apps, and immediately they saved 50% of the cost. This ties back to the subject or to the fact that 70-80% of the IT cost goes to keep the lights on. I mean, if you really remove complexity from it, you lower the cost, then you have much more budget to be creative and to actually contribute to the company's development. This is the one that I like very much, the French railways. They have implemented apps and they gave to all the people that are working in the trains, all the conductors and all the people that check tickets and everything, they gave Android devices because they didn't have laptops, but they had to access the functionality somehow. So Android devices, perfect for this. And there was one side effect. You know, Android devices, if you allow them, they send information about the GPS position of the device, the speed, and all the different elements. You can actually use it in your day-to-day life. If you have Android device and you use Google navigation, then this is being used to show the traffic in the city. But at the same time, it can also show the traffic on the trains, on the tracks, right? So all of a sudden, they have this big screen, and it shows where every single train is, what kind of speed it has, and those are very crucial informations for the company like the railway. And at the same time, they had an offer from Alcatel on the table to do exactly this. I mean, the system for monitoring where the trains are. It was very complicated, GPS, different things, expensive devices. The total cost of that offer that they had on the table was 20 million euros. And they didn't do it because they didn't have to anymore. It was a side effect of using Google Apps. So what I'm saying here is that only your creativity is actually limiting you from using it in a new, innovative way. And if you look at Europe, Middle East, and Africa for Google Apps, we are present on the market for 6 years right now. And in our region, we have over 1 million companies that are actually already using the software. And in the world, there are over 3 million businesses that are using it to their advantage, and 3,000 more sign up every day. And what's really interesting is that there is no leader in terms of market vertical. So all of the different market verticals, being manufacturing, retail, financial services, they all embrace it in the same way, in the same speed, and there's more and more companies that are using it. So using the cloud, this is not a new thing, new hype. It's out there for many years now, and a lot of companies are taking advantage of it. So I would like to encourage you to do the same. And I think this is very important. In our days, especially under the crisis situation, people expect us to do more with less, right? So the IT CIO says, is being told by the CEO, okay, I need you to do this and this and this, and by the way, you're going to have your budget cut for next year, right? How do you do it? You have to be really creative to do it, and that means that creative, innovative IT people are really very, very well positioned on the market right now. So with that, I would like to finish. And as we agreed, we have time for 2 questions maybe. Yeah, sure. And then we will have the question session if you have any, hopefully. No? Okay.
I have a question. It is regarding the CAD that I hope it will be soon supported in the cloud.
AutoCAD.
Yeah. CAT.
Okay.
CAT. What are the plans? What Google plans with the CAT as a SAS?
We don't have any plans related to this because it's not our product. But if you go to Apps Marketplace, you will find a lot of CAT-like solutions that are out there. And you can use them today. In terms of ability, if you have really heavy application that sits somewhere in your data center, for example, you want to make it you want to make it cloud friendly, then you have two options: either virtualize it and deliver it through solutions like Citrix, for example, to devices like Chromebook, which is something that we do all the time with ERP, CRM systems. Those heavy back office applications that people are really afraid yet to move out to the cloud. Or the other option is to use Google Platform, which we are marketing right now very much. It's available, so you can really use it to port your applications on the cloud, on Google Cloud, in Google infrastructure. So those are two solutions.
For the third-party applications, meaning how much the people are spreading or buying third-party application on the Google Apps ecosystem?
I don't have answer on top of my head, but I'll check and I'll give you the answer.
Thank you.
Later on, because I need to check. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
But it's big. It's really big. Now, it's big because there's so much applications. And think about this. There's 200,000 developers that are working on it in total, right? But I'll give you the number. Okay. One more, maybe.
You said that in the whole world are 3 million businesses that are using the Google.
That's right.
How many are in Romania?
How many in Romania?
Yeah.
We don't disclose country-specific information, unfortunately. I'm not in the liberty to tell you that. But it's a growing number. All right, we'll have time for questions later on. Thank you very much.